very happy to be here, and I would like to thank the organizers for inviting us. And this is a beautiful town. Anything outside DC is beautiful, actually. Is my time up? I'm here to discuss collaborative work, and the title of my brief discussion is Transformative Collaboration as Anti-Corporate Model, or as Corporate Anti-Model, which is basically the idea that collaborating for the sake of collaborating for us or for me is not the issue. The issue is to collaborate to actually transform, not just transform the world we're in, but also transform ourselves and the fields from which we come. In other words, to actually make it truly transformative. And this is why we are a collective of artists, filmmakers, researchers, musicians, activists, and we're bound together by a particular solidarity. We actually put together a collective called Quilting Point, made up of 17 team members from diverse backgrounds, including, as I said, people from all these fields that I mentioned, and we embarked on a number of projects that are basically research-based projects that produce documentaries, and I'll just focus on one of them. The first and perhaps longest running project is called Arabs and Terrorism, which is a project that is intended to interrogate the dominant discourse on the question of terrorism. We traveled for the past 9 years to 11 countries. We interviewed 125 high-profile interviewees in these countries, and we conducted the research in 6 languages, which really helped bring everybody in the project into the work. We are going to be producing ultimately 8 episodes, 5 of which are produced and are available. And this has been 9 years in the running. The other projects that I will not be talking about, which were also based on collaboration, are About Baghdad, which is the first, we were the first team to actually enter Baghdad after the invasion, or occupation, or liberation, whatever you want to think of it. And then finally a recent film on immigrants, Arab and Muslim immigrants in Europe, which is called The Other Threat. Now, the principles that we operate under, I just realized I was working on my computer only, so here we go. Okay, so the principles we're operating under are a few, but they're very important for us. First, we emphasize content. Without having content, the idea of collaboration is interesting, but for us it's not very motivating. The second issue is team over project. The team is always more important than the project, and I will focus on a couple of these in just a minute, but I just want to run through them real quick. Thirdly, collective decision making and collective work and collaboration. This is basically the crux of what we do. Our motto is screw the market. I apologize for the language. But basically, we don't want to subordinate ourselves to what the market wants and needs and demands, because the more you subordinate yourself to the market and your decision making, the more you produce the market that you're trying to actually transform. So it's not that we just do what's against the market, it's just that we do not subordinate what we need to do artistically and in terms of meaning to what the market needs. If we happen to coincide, that's great. If we do not, we go our own way. Fourthly, effective outcome. Without having an effective outcome, you cannot say screw the market, because nobody's going to look at what you're working on. You have to have something that motivates, that drives, that inspires. And finally, the send-off, which is something I'll talk about in just a minute. I will focus on only 3 of these very quickly. First of all, the collective decision-making and work. We actually, let me start with the effective outcome. We actually have conducted, for instance, what we call nested interviewing, which is a way of filming that is quite original in the sense that we film an interview, for instance, with the head of Hezbollah in Lebanon. We take that interview to Washington, D.C. to neoconservative think tanks like AEI, and we have someone like G. Kirkpatrick respond to it. We take that interview back to Beirut, and we have that person respond to it. And there we have a connection or a conversation between people that you will never see in the same room, not least because it could be illegal. Notwithstanding my trips, but my trips, of course, were conducted as a journalist. This is what we call nested interviewing, and it kind of brought together the project and made it what it is today. Second, we have I would like to talk about the idea of total collaboration, which means everyone in our team, just like the Holland football team, plays all positions. Collaboration doesn't mean anything for us if the collaborative act itself doesn't enrich you and enrich what you can do yourself, so that after the project you have empowered yourself in some way. So we all do the research, we all do the filming, we all do the sound, most of us do the editing, we all do the messaging and managing and dissemination. That's the second point. And then finally, the send-off. The idea here is that all of these people that we've worked with, because they rotate, we actually work really hard to send them off to do their own thing, to do their own project right after the project is finished. So 3 or 4 of our team members have produced their own series. We provide, however, the logistics for them, we provide support, we provide expertise, and we provide sometimes some finances. The money that we get from the projects, which is actually not a lot, goes back into this team and empowers everybody that comes out. I actually work hard to push people out after a project or two so that they could do the same thing, create networks, create nodes that create more networks, and so on and so forth. And this is how actually we have grown and we have sustained our collective for the past several years. And finally, why do we do this? Because I know I'm out of time, running out of time. Why do we do this? We basically do this, and I would be happy to talk about different aspects of what I just discussed or did not discuss. We do this because we want to work collaboratively to prevent the reproduction of existing power relations in society. Not just this society, but in society in general, worldwide. And we are not just going for a negative outcome, which is to prevent something. We are also trying to offer, in the way we operate, work, and message, to offer alternative modes of power and interaction to replace what we think are problematic